can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
All sports talk. Weekdays at 5.
WGNS, your good neighbor station.
Rutherford County's place to talk.
There is an underground civilization underneath of the North American continent.
It's Coast to Coast AM overnight, every night on WGNS Murfreesboro. The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Good morning. This is Bill Krause on the Roundtable, WGNS. Welcome on another Thursday, and we are very, very fortunate and delighted to have with us as a guest one of the key movers and shakers of Rutherford County, a gentleman who has had this position for 14 years. We're going to learn about our guest today, the president of the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Paul Latour. Paul, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today.
How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. Thank you. It's
always,
a beautiful spring day, looks like.
Oh, isn't it, though? In fact, I was noticing this morning was supposed to be in the low 80s and bounce down to the low 50s tonight, a 30-degree jump, or a dump, I should probably say. But basically, tell us about yourself. Tell us about...
Yeah, no, again, thanks for having me today. It's I've been in chamber work since I graduated college from Ole Miss. And
you were born where?
I was born in Fort Smith, Arkansas, but I pretty much grew up majority of my life in Jackson, Mississippi.
And went to school?
Went to school at Ole Miss, University of Mississippi, and then...
You're still a great supporter?
I am, absolutely. Absolutely.
And when you graduated, what was your major in?
It was a major in marketing.
Oh, so
marketing
you
degree, yes, sir.
Had it right from the roots.
That's right.
And from school, where was your first employment?
My first job was at the Memphis Chamber of Commerce, where I spent about 8 years doing membership work, governmental affairs work, and really gained some really good experience.
Did you enjoy Memphis?
I did. I got a lot of great friends there, and I know Memphis can get a bad knock from time to time, but it's certainly it's a really neat city.
Well, it's a home of a certain aspect of our music too, and that's very enjoyable.
Absolutely.
And from Memphis, tell us the journey that Paul has pursued.
Yeah, so what in the chamber of business, there's different segments, and of course, economic development, job recruitment, company recruitment, and retention is something that's always been a passion of mine and wanted to get into. So I got my first economic development job in Clarksville, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And so I spent several years there and really enjoyed it. Both my daughters were born in Clarksville, so it's always going to have a special place for us. And so we had a really and had some great successes there.
Were you there during and help me out with the name, the company that did the solar and then funded and then they closed?
I was not.
Okay.
That was several years after I had left there, so that was unfortunate. But
yes, well,
it turned out to be a good thing with Google purchased that site.
And from Clarksville, your journey led you to?
Yeah, while still living in Clarksville, I was invited to come and join the Department of Economic and Community Development with the state of Tennessee. And as I mentioned to you earlier, Don Sunquist was the governor back then. And so I spent about 2 or 3 years there. Was responsible for all the domestic and international marketing for the state, and so really got to see a good part of the world as well, and learned a lot. And that carried me into my next job.
Were you involved at that time? Was that before or after with Nissan and Saturn coming to the state?
Yeah, well after the although we had our first conversation with Nissan about moving their headquarters to ultimately went to
California.
From California, yes, and ultimately went to Franklin.
And from there you went to?
Got my first CEO job of a chamber in Jackson, Tennessee.
So you love the name Jackson?
I do. It's the only thing I know how to spell.
It's not your middle name.
That's right.
Haven't adopted it yet.
Not yet.
And did you enjoy Jackson?
We did. West Tennessee is also a special place. We had some great successes. Of course, Jackson is kind of an island, so to speak, between Nashville and Memphis, and so we were kind of the hub of activity for commerce and for entertainment, culture.
Home of Carl Perkins.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
Tina Turner.
Tina Turner was a little bit outside of Memphis there in Nutbush, Tennessee, but wasn't
What was
too
the name of the town?
Nutbush.
Oh, I love that name. That's
Yeah.
one I hadn't heard of.
Right. So she was a great, obviously, legend in Tennessee as well.
And from Jackson, you came to Rutherford?
I did. I had an opportunity, and I wasn't really looking, but some folks here that they had a change over in their CEO position here at the Rutherford County Chamber, and I was invited to come up and interview, and we liked each other, and I guess been here about 13 and a half years now.
Talk about the Rutherford County when you first came, population, what it was like, its excitement about growth and development. It was just after the beginning of the new century, and there was an optimism, although you came about the time of the 2008 recession.
That's correct. So when we got here, it was, things were not as good, but seemingly they just, my perspective from coming from Jackson, we seemed like Rutherford County and the Nashville area was in a little bit better position to recover. And so from that, we slowly began to recover. I think one of the biggest things I noticed when Nissan started adding jobs back, because they got down to about 4,000 employees at one time.
Wow.
And so over the course of time, they continued to add folks. And then as more consumers got confidence and developers got confidence in the recovering recession, Rutherford County continued to really accelerate in population. I think you asked me earlier about the population. I think was around 220,000 people, and today we're a little bit over the 360,000 mark for the population of our county, and still growing.
It's kind of interesting. I don't know how many people would refer today to Rutherford County as having over a third of a million people. You very seldom would use the term million in a population estimate, but a third of a million, people could relate to that. Traffic, and transit.
Yes.
With one word, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Describe a moment or two the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce. You're governed by a board of directors. You are in partnership with our public agencies within the county. You have do you actually have membership businesses that are members?
Yes, we're very blessed to have a very strong membership investment base. So we have companies all over the county, all over the region for that matter, and then we have some out of state actually, who invest in the Chamber of Commerce, and then certainly that's our bread and butter. We want our members to have a good return on their investment. We don't look for it as a donation or anything, but it's an investment in growing the community and also being an advocate in public policy and being a player in economic development to make sure that we're competitive when we're going after jobs, or more importantly, about 80% of all of our new jobs come from existing companies that are already here.
Expansion,
yes, sir. And so we're very cognizant of that, and we want to make sure that when a company moves here, or if there's somebody already here, we want to make sure they have the tools necessary and foster an environment that is conducive for growth.
And the convention tourist aspect of your work is also a big function of the chamber.
It's a very big function, and so we have a great staff led by Barbara Wolke on our tourism side. You mentioned the word million a minute ago. It's hard to believe that for the past 3 or 4 years we've sold over 1.1 million room nights.
Really?
For hotel rooms, and so we throw that number out, and you go, "Wow, that's pretty neat." And so our hotels are now post-pandemic really have roared back. With all the different events that we have, from stuff on the weekends, with all of of course, we got our bread and butter back in the day with sports, and TSSAA is a great partner, which their basketball championships are coming up here in the next few weeks. But we have all kinds of other things, and so certainly with the MC Suites coming in when they did to have a conference center where we can host association meetings and regional meetings. It's really a great place to have meetings.
And the price is a lot less, and the parking is a lot more affordable than in the Nashville metropolitan area.
I don't know how you get better than free parking, so...
They may even pay you to park there.
Yeah, exactly.
As an incentive.
Exactly.
Describe, besides the population as you did, what Rutherford County looked like just a short 13 and a half, 14 years ago. Were you in the same facility then as you are now?
So when I first got here, I spent 1 year in the building, which is now the Red Cross building here. It's a 501 Memorial. And literally when I got here, we had several people that were crammed in one office. And so they recognized that we had outgrown that and already had plans. And I got to come in as a new guy and break ground, and it worked out. Timing was perfect on my part. But we've been there about 13 years now, and on Medical Center Parkway. And that's really been a great deal for us. Number one, it gets us a little more closer to the center part of the county, where we're able to get to Smyrna and Laverne and Eagleville quicker, as well as Nashville if we need to go there. And then also it really kind of puts us in the hub of the interstate system right there, and everything that is around that has grown up exponentially. I used to be able to see the MC Suites from my office, and now there's several buildings between there, and I can't see it any longer. And there's more coming, obviously. With I know everybody knows about the plans with Clary Park and the growth that's continuing to happen, and also the impending widening of Med Center Parkway is also going to be happening, I understand, pretty soon. And so it looks vastly different, I can tell you that.
Yes, and even Murfreesboro and Smyrna and Laverne and Eagleville hasn't changed, but the other cities.
Well, I would disagree. Eagleville is absolutely, they, believe it or not, did not have a sewer system early on when I first got here. And at the time, working with Mayor Sam Toon and others, we were able to get sewer. And so that's been really a game changer for Eagleville, and they are doing a great job in doing that. There's housing developments out there now. The schools continuing to grow. And so Eagleville is definitely up and coming. And
you can tell I haven't been there in a few years, so I guess.
Well, they have several restaurants if you want to go eat.
Oh, really? Requires
absolutely.
myself to make a trip to beautiful Eagleville.
There you go.
Yeah. And at the point of your chamber, you are governed by a board of directors of how many?
We have right at 18 members of our board.
Do you want to give acknowledgement to your officers, your president? You're the president, but your key leaders of the board, or they're all basically the same level? With committee chairs?
Yeah, we of course Sherry Morgan. She's our chair this year. She just took the chair at our banquet, which was this month. Excuse me. It's not March yet. And so we got a great board. It's and a great executive committee, and everybody seems to be very committed to making sure the chamber is successful. That they're in a good financial position, and also we have a great team. I mean, How
many do you have on your team?
We've got right at 21 people, and that includes a couple of part-time folks in our visitor center. So we have a great staff, very committed, and so everybody comes to work every day thinking what can we do to make Rutherford County a better place.
Your address on Memorial or Medical?
Medical Center Parkway is 3050 Medical Center Parkway.
That's right off the I-24.
Correct.
You can just get the off-ramp and make a left to the first driveway.
That's right.
Absolutely. In terms of looking at Rutherford County today, how would you best describe Rutherford County today economically? How would you describe thriving, stability, growth, retention?
I would say all of those.
Okay.
As we look at our different sectors, let's just take healthcare for example. Healthcare has exploded in Rutherford County. You look at all of our medical facilities here; they're all in the process of doing some expansions. I know Vanderbilt is looking at coming here too, and they're continuing to go through the CON process through the state of Tennessee. But you look at other folks like MMC and others. I could just name them all, or I'm leaving them out. I'll leave them all out. But the healthcare industry is very healthy. No pun intended there in our
no illness in the healthcare.
And those are great jobs as well. And not only are they a good quality of life piece, but they're also great jobs. Manufacturing continues to do well. Of course, distribution, logistics, supply chain. I think everybody became keenly aware of how important supply chain is when the pandemic was upon us, and so we have companies here that are help fulfill those things. And so obviously the automotive industry is still king here with Nissan and all the suppliers that are here. We want to make sure that Nissan has all the tools necessary to continue to grow, and then all these OEMs are looking at as the big news about switching over to the electric vehicle productions, and I know Nissan will be getting in that market at some point very soon. So those plans are yet to be unveiled. But we're just looking forward to continue on in what we're doing. So we've got to make sure that we keep our nose to the grindstone and make sure they can be successful.
Well, you probably will address, and we'll do this right after the break, that we are the best alternative to a company or a business moving to Nashville, both in terms of land, in terms of cost. But we'll be talking more about that, including labor and including post-pandemic. This is Bill Krause on the Roundtable, having a wonderful, wonderful conversation with Mr. Paul got to get that right. Paul Latour, who is the president of the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce, bringing us not only the history and the record of the chamber, but with a magic ball looking at the future of Rutherford County. We'll be right back.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
French's Shoes and Boots is the #1 place in Tennessee to find the latest Southern styles at unbelievable prices. We know you work hard for your money, so when searching for high-quality footwear that won't let you down, French's has you covered. We have a huge selection of casual and work shoes and boots at the best prices in town, guaranteed.
It makes good sense to shop at French's. French's Shoes and Boots.
1837 South Church Street in Murfreesboro.
Guys, there's a lot of people talking about testosterone, but do your homework and be sure to go to a provider you can trust. I recommend Low T Center. It's where I get my levels checked. Low T Center exclusively specializes in men's wellness. They check all your levels, not just your testosterone, and they determine the cause of any symptom you are having and whether you're a candidate for low T or something else like low thyroid or sleep apnea. Typically, their annual health assessment is completely covered by health insurance, and they check everything, including PSA, which is your prostate levels, and they check your thyroid, liver, and kidney function, cholesterol, glucose levels, and more. Low T Center has affordable and convenient options for treatment, including monitored self-inject treatment that ships directly to you each month, so no need to come to the center each week. Make your health a priority this new year and schedule your annual health assessment at Low T Center today. Covered by most health insurance or less than $100 cash pay. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by AmeriCare Pest Control and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
Hi, this is John Day of the law offices of John Day. I've lived and worked as a lawyer in Middle Tennessee for over 30 years, and to me, every single day has been an honor. That's why our firm is so involved with community programs like bicycle helmet giveaways and our Safe Ride Home program. At the law offices of John Day, we're not just looking to make donations. We want to make a difference in the community we hold so dear. And if you're ever injured, know that we are here for you too.
Let's check those WGNS Good Neighbor events. The Nashville Praise Symphony is in concert this Saturday night at 6 at Northside Baptist Church on West Thompson Lane here in Murfreesboro. And welcome to Murfreesboro, everyone, for the 93rd Annual Tennessee National Guard Conference. This weekend, the Red Cross is critically low on blood. Call them and make an appointment to give blood at a time that fits your schedule. The Red Cross number, 1-800-RED-CROSS. Now remember, Sister Act is this weekend at Oakland High School. It's also the final weekend to see Rent at the Center for the Arts in Uptown Murfreesboro. Same is true with You Can't Take It With You at the Springhouse Theater in Smyrna. Don't throw away Old Glory. Retire your American flag with respect. Bring it by WGNS and let the girls from BSA Troop 2019 at Trinity United Methodist Church retire it with dignity. Plus, we also recycle Bibles. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Good Neighbor weather.
We'll see a few spotty rain showers possible late this afternoon with partial sunshine developing, a high in the mid-80s with southwest winds gusting as high as 20 miles per hour. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS.
Currently, it's 67. Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios. Take control of your account management and energy consumption with the MyMTE app. Download from the App Store and manage your account, improve your energy habits, and more. MTE, serving to make life better since 1936.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Hi, Bill Krause again on the Roundtable on a beautiful, beautiful Thursday morning. One would think spring is here, but knowing the history of weather in Tennessee, we still may have some March and April weather. We're with Paul Latour, who's the president of the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce. He's been with the Chamber nearly 14 years, a real leader in terms of the economic well-being, the economic health of Rutherford County. And we were going to talk about labor force, workforce, difficulties companies are having post-pandemic of getting people away from the Zoom into the workplace. Talk about the labor force issues that you're experiencing with our employers in Rutherford County.
I'm not sure we have enough time on the show to do it all, but
we've got time.
Well, it's no secret that nationwide and even perhaps globally, there's a labor shortage, and this transcends every single sector of business, whether it be healthcare, manufacturing, retail. I mean, we've all been to service organizations where service companies where the service may be a little slower and just don't have the staff to do it. So we have a full-time staff, 3 people that are dedicated to doing nothing but education and workforce development. And you can go on our website, rutherfordworks.org, and learn about what we're doing. And so we really have a couple different strategies. One's a short-term strategy where we're encouraging either folks that have gotten out of the workforce and they want to get in something different, they can go earn a different type of, maybe a certificate that would make them marketable or have them upskilled to do different things. And then also making them aware of the different opportunities that, as you and I were talking, people who may have retired who want to get back in.
Mm-hmm. Even part-time.
So I think companies are exploring ways to be flexible in order to meet the needs of their company's production or services. So you're seeing that. Long term, we have a great partnership with our school systems here, both the city of Murfreesboro schools as well as the Rutherford County schools. And so we recently have, this is the time of year where we go into all the 8th grade classrooms of all the schools and talk about pathways and where you as a student, as you begin your high school journey then the following year, to learn about, well, what interests you. And through a tool that we use with the school system called U-Science, it's an aptitude and it's an interest test to say, hey, what you might be good at. And so that way we can help guide them and introduce them to careers. We have speakers come in, talk about the things that are important and what it takes to be successful in getting a job in a particular area. And also we talk about the educational opportunities here, right here in Rutherford County, all the way from high school, where you can, for example, in manufacturing, you can graduate high school with your 1-year mechatronics degree in manufacturing and already have not only a degree from your high school or diploma, you also have a 1 year from the TCAT, so you're already instantly marketable. And then, obviously, through one of your employers is Motlow, you can get the 2-year degree. And then also with MTSU coming on with their it's growing rapidly, their mechatronics 4-year program. So that's one example. We do the same thing in healthcare and information technologies, and we also have a large construction council. We have a lack of construction jobs with all the growth going on here. So introducing those to those students who may not want to go to a 4-year university or others, that you can learn a very valuable skilled trade and make a great living providing for your family moving forward. So we've got a lot of irons in the fire, and so it's important that we certainly, number one, we recognize there's a labor shortage. Number two, we want to set ourselves apart from a community that's actually trying to do something about it, and not just sitting back and waiting for other things to come to us.
You know what's fascinating when you were mentioning reaching out to the 8th grader? I teach a dual enrollment class, Laverne High School students who are attending Motlow Community College, which is a great program for the transition from high school to college. Only last week, I guess it was, we were talking about professional growth, jobs in public service, since it's an American government class. But the one criteria that I heard from 32 students was they're looking at jobs not for the passion of the work and not for the pleasantries of the environment, but money. And money was the big push. I would probably think that with the supply and demand of labor, the cost of labor has certainly gone way up, which is one of the major contributors to inflation. If you pay more for people to work at your employment, you're going to have to pass that down in price to your consumer. So in terms of the young men and the young women looking today at jobs as money, and we've seen how, especially in the fast foods industries, for example, that the hourly wage has literally almost doubled in most places. And I always thought we're not going to see fast foods, we're going to see slow foods for less labor in the organization in order to be able to afford them. Do you see the supply and demand still creating problems if we have to pay more to attract people, to compete more with other employers for labor, that's going to continue to drive the inflation rate to really difficult levels?
Well, wage pressure is definitely something that all of our companies are facing here, and everybody who has a small business up to a large business knows that they've got to be competitive from a wage standpoint. And so wages have increased in order to compete, and I think we're seeing a little bit of that leveling off because there's a little bit more supply coming in from a labor standpoint. But also, especially you talk about the younger generation coming up, there's also they also want more of a work-life balance, and so things that are important to them may not have been important to you and I growing up, but so those are things that the culture of a company. And certainly we encourage companies to look at within themselves to say, if you're having trouble getting your labor, look within, and what kind of, a lot of people stay for culture, and they want to make sure that they've got a good job, a good place to work, it's a fun place. So definitely all that factors into whether or not a company is successful in being able to hire somebody.
Well, needless to say, since the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce is certainly designed and destined to continue to improve, expand, and develop the economy of Rutherford County, availability of jobs, growth opportunities, etc. But with that comes the responses to growth. And rather than use the word traffic, how about transit?
Transit. Yes. So as we all know, we all live in this area that traffic congestion and your ability to get to one place or another can be hampered by congestion. And I'm really talking more just from a regional perspective that we have been involved in the past, and I think we will be involved here in the near future to look at what does transit look like in our 10-county area. How can we look at a number of solutions and look at the cost of those solutions, and if the citizens are willing to pay for it at some point in time, then we might look at a variety of things like light rail, or you now have a proposal by the governor in the legislature this year, which would create choice lanes, which if you've been to Atlanta, Chicago, and others, you can a private company will come in and build these lanes, and then if you want to use them, you don't have to, but if you want to, you don't have to pay for it. And so that's something that is being explored right now in the major metropolitan areas in particular where traffic is bad. So it could also include increased bus service. Again, I mentioned light rail would be a dream, really. I think would be good to be able to do that, and then also look at we have a lot of people that drive from here to Nashville every day, and so if they were able to find additional jobs here, that might I know they would like to take the commute off their schedule every day.
Well, speaking of that, the pandemic, which we just went through several years, are we getting out of post-pandemic experiences?
We are. I think you'll see a movement toward. Here is a little different. I think if you look at some of the bigger cities and you look at the bigger companies that have a presence nationwide, it's hard to have a work from home policy or a COVID policy when they have challenges all across the country with different regions were flaring up more than others. But you're seeing, I think you saw Amazon this week. We're going to tell everybody to get back to the office in May. They're already having some pushback, I read this morning, on that. But I think generally speaking here, we have a lot of folks that are all the way back in the office, and of course we've been back a long time. But I think the fear of COVID is still there. It's just we just didn't realize we have to manage it like the flu or anything else now that we have to.
Well, the real issue of going back to work on the work site rather than at home was not only the fear of COVID. I think it was saving of significant monies to the employee. You no longer had to pay daycare, which can be very costly. You watched your little one at home. You no longer had to pay commute costs, and when gas prices were well in the $4, and your auto insurance, and you no longer had to be up on top of clothing, because you could probably just sit on your Zoom with a nice shirt, but not with a pair of pants. Yep. If you go that way. So a lot of the cost element to the employee will waive as a result of their having to go back to work.
Well, and I think some companies are beginning to recognize that, where they may start putting smaller offices in communities like Rutherford County, where they would ask an employee to come in maybe 3 days a week and not have to commute all the way into a Nashville or a Dallas or what have you. So I think this is all about employee retention. So companies are continuing to look at ways and to be competitive in this tight labor market.
And as a result of that, Rutherford County still is extraordinarily attractive to companies and businesses who are looking to be in the exact center of Tennessee. I always like to stress that Murfreesboro and Rutherford County, the exact center. The world begins and ends in Rutherford County. Do you have seminars and programs and events, educational events that are open to the community or open to membership, open to guests throughout the year that you've been sponsoring?
Absolutely. We have events monthly. And the biggest things that we have, the most popular, are networking events. We want to encourage folks to get out and meet other people in the business community and try to do business with them. That's the main purpose of why we exist, is to create commerce. We also have, to your point about educational seminars, we have from time to time, also in partnership with our partners with MTSU, the Small Business Development Center that's housed in our building. We've done some things from time to time, all the way from OSHA training to marketing to information technologies to any wide scope of the spectrum there for educational opportunities. So certainly, if you want to check our website out for upcoming events, please do. We'd love to have you. And if you're not a member of the Chamber, please come and learn more about. We also have Chamber 101, which is led by Kelly Beam. She's our Vice President of Membership. She does it every Friday at 8:30. It's a great way to really get introduced to the Chamber, what we have to offer, how you can benefit, and also how your investment returns back to you with the different activities that we can
And
provide.
how does somebody sign up for it?
Just show up.
They just show up.
8:30 Friday, 30.
Just without a reservation, and
reservations are encouraged, so we know how many to plan.
You at least serve good coffee.
We do. We do.
Donuts? No, not donuts, but good coffee.
No donuts. We got to be healthy.
Got to keep people healthy. Let's talk about the future of Rutherford County. Do you have not a plan, but a dream? If you had a magic wand to make Rutherford County the jewel of not only Tennessee, but the entire United States, the ideal place to live, the ideal place to work, the ideal place to visit, what do you see as the dream and passion of Rutherford County?
Well, I would say it already is the ideal place to live. And
I would not expect any differently.
And no, I think as Rutherford County looks, if you look at the different places for development, I think look at some of the things that the town of Smyrna is doing with the widening of Jefferson Pike and 840. And 840 is the big connector right now. Mm-hmm. And so previous to now, there's not really been any infrastructure there to do some development that that we could have office buildings, we could have healthcare facilities, we could have hotels. I think 840 is really the new frontier in my estimation. So if you look at that, what Smyrna's doing, what the city of Murfreesboro is doing with Middle Tennessee Electric, and they swapped the properties there. So Middle Tennessee Electric owns that piece of property now for office development and for mixed-use development at some point. I think all that will look a lot different in the next 5 to 10 years and really create some nice infill between our different communities. Laverne is also doing some wonderful things. They've got really a big focus on retail, and it's starting to pay off. Tom Broker with the city of Laverne and their economic development department there are doing some great things. They have BJ's Wholesale will be opening up. We call it the Rock Quarry Pit. I guess a long time ago they had a borrow pit from Interstate, but it's right behind, just on the Smyrna line in Laverne. So that's a great win. As of course, sales tax is king here in Tennessee, so that's great for the city of Laverne. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the things that are going on in Eagleville will continue to do well as a kind of a quiet place to live. And
speaking of sales tax, Costco in Murfreesboro had a big hook into the area on sales tax and opportunity for people.
Absolutely. They were a great addition to our community. We go out, and every time I go out, or I'm sure our elected officials, everybody wants a Costco or other things that they see in other communities. So we were successful in getting that. As our community continues to grow and reach the thresholds of these different needs of the companies and what fits their market, you're going to see Rutherford County getting more of their share of those.
We'll talk more about what's happening and what is anticipated and what's hoped to happen in Rutherford County right after this break. This is Bill Krause with our guest for the morning, the president of the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Paul Latour. So great to have Paul. We'll be right back.
Chip Walters here with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates. I was named a top 10 agent in the #1 Exit Realty office in America in 2021. The top question I get around town, how's the market? Good question. And the answer's changed a few times this year alone. I'd like to know what you've heard and share some solid data we have. Give me a call and let's have a cup of coffee and take a look at what's happening in your neighborhood. All my contact info is right on my website, choosechip.net. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet, burning pain, balance problems, and decreased quality of life? Magnolia Medical Center can help.
This is Dr. David Morris with Magnolia Medical Center. We're in the Ascend building near the fountains in Murfreesboro.
Online at magnoliamedicalcenters.com.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstirepros.tn.com.
Premier 6 Theater on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Let's all go to the movies.
Check out what's showing at murfreesboromovies.com. Popcorn popped fresh daily.
Movies at the good old Premier 6.
Premier 6 on Broad in Jackson Heights.
We break in with traffic, news, and weather bulletins anytime. Good Neighbor Talk is your 24/7 connection. WGNS, AM, FM, and online. This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome back to our third and final segment this beautiful, beautiful morning. We're with Paul Latour, the president of the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce. Heard about the history, heard about the present, and we're talking about the future. Paul, talk about the sports. Talk about the basketball tournament that's coming up.
Absolutely. So for many, many years, maybe several decades ago, we were able to get the TSSAA basketball championships here that are held at the Murphy Center. In those, so for 2 weeks coming up in next early part of March will be the beginning of the tournament again this year with the girls basketball, which will be a week-long deal, and then the week following that will be the boys basketball state championships that are held here, and then shortly thereafter in May we'll have spring fling again,
which is
It's an Olympic style event for all the spring sports that are done in one, which would include all the spring sports from baseball to soccer, boys soccer, I should say, all the track and field.
Is that at MTSU also?
Well, yes, partly it is. They play mainly the championship games, for example, at the track as well as the baseball field stadium there. So, but everything else is kind of done throughout the county. As they whittle down to the championship rounds, they move it over to MTSU.
Another area that the Chamber has certainly been very involved in and talking about advocacy of legislation, very strong in terms of both local, county, state, and to some degree federal legislation. Are there some particular areas of legislative advocacy that you're currently involved in?
There are probably two or three key areas. One would be education and workforce. Anything that the state of Tennessee can do through the General Assembly right now to enhance opportunities for Tennesseans, in this case Rutherford County residents, we want to be supportive of it and be an advocate for it. So, for example, I know there's the governor's proposed budget. He's got some information that he wanted to share as it relates to investing more in the Tennessee College of Applied Technology, which is their biggest challenge is they're going to teach classes. They've got to have equipment to be able to do it. So there's going to be hopefully a major investment if the budget passes like we think it could. Major investment in TCATs throughout the entire state of Tennessee, and then we would certainly be us having two TCATs here. Wow. Is certainly beneficial. One in Smyrna and one in Murfreesboro, and so we're any investment in education is extremely important. The other areas, of course, would surround the transportation area. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, the governor's proposal for the Transportation Modernization Act. That is something that we're watching very closely, and it looks like we're supporting it to make sure that this is at least one step in the right direction for not the transit solution, but a transit solution as part of the whole transit solution process. So we're looking at that very heavily. And then also look at any bills or any opportunities there are to help in the taxation side. Make sure that businesses they want to pay their fair share, but you want to make sure that they're taxed fairly. And anything that would be proposed that would be negative towards that, we would either express our opposition or our support, depending on what the case may be. But I'll give a shout out to our state delegation. They do a great job, and
yes.
And they're very kind to spend their times and talking to our constituents, our membership, and certainly we want the business community to have a voice. And so we spend a lot of time doing that. Matter of fact, we're in the process of adding a position at the Chamber that'll be our public policy person. It'll be a director of public policy. So we're in the process of going through that right now. So we'll even elevate our efforts even more in terms of advocacy.
I'm glad you mentioned taxation, advocacy, and incentive. Most people do not realize that when you give incentives to business, that you're reducing their actual tax outlay, but they're using that money to expand, increase, and add. The dollar that's encouraged and incentivized to expand, increase, and grow will produce much, much, much more to the economy than just adding to the tax pocket. And to encourage businesses to add and to develop and to research and to take risks of new ways of doing things is really one of the basic foundations of the tax code. And we sometimes forget that, and I think it's so important is to encourage the investment in the community. If we go from there, if we look at the future of Rutherford County, is housing a major resource that attracts people to this county?
Without a doubt, housing is a very huge component of our economy. If you look at your local economy like a stock portfolio, you want to be well balanced in manufacturing and healthcare and the service sector. But housing is also a huge component of that because everyone has to have a place to call home. And so with the affordable housing is a term that's used a lot, and of course, a lot of things that happen are market driven, and so I don't know how it's a hard road to kind of unwind if you're looking at trying to provide workforce housing, they call it now, as well as some other things. So it's a challenge, and I know that people who build houses can't control the price of materials, and so that also contributes to that. So inflation has had a big piece of that. But I know all of our different elected bodies are looking at that, looking at places where they can create more density in areas that will help do some infill, in particular in the urban areas. So it's a challenge. There's no doubt about it. It's like childcare is also a challenge, and we talk about that all the time. That's one of the things that I guess someone alluded to earlier in looking at employee costs, but that childcare is a big deal. And so those are things we have to try to work together on and try to come up with some type of solution, which frankly is very difficult.
Well, when you mentioned child care, do we have any employers in Rutherford County? I remember in California it was fairly extensive, where a larger company would have a daycare right on site. And the psychological factor of the parent bringing the child to work, having them in the daycare during the day, having lunch with them in the break of the day was both not only a financial incentive, but equally a psychological plus that made the employee very happy to know that the little boy or the little girl were just down the corridor.
I don't see a lot of that anymore. I think there's a lot of liability issues.
Exactly.
And I don't think companies want to incur that. But certainly, if we continue this tight labor market, I think you may see some companies try to offer something like that, or a stipend or something that will make them an employer of choice.
Do we see companies developing partnerships to have on-the-job training and internships, as it may be, but on-the-job training for people in alliance with the schools, the colleges, etc., that they actually are putting people on as a interim basis?
We're doing that with 17-year-old, 16-year-old
young
people.
Talk about that for a moment.
Well, it's not illegal to hire a 16-year-old person. There's just been it's more those are just company policies, and so we have done some internship programs over the past, and we'll continue to do that as we ramp back up after COVID. But absolutely, we do that, and a lot of them stay on, and that's a great recruiting tool for a company to have somebody to come in and work. So we have a number of cases where that's been successful. In Ingram, in the northern part of the county, Laverne, they've really done a great job, and a lot of times the feedback we get is that these young people are outworking the existing workforce. So that's been good. And again, it's about introducing careers to young people in particular, and that's what we're all about doing.
Well, related to that, I would say conservatively, over 60% of all of my students at Mount Low hold part-time jobs, some of them 30 hours a week. And, of course, I use that as an educational tool. It isn't just the hourly rate they're getting. What are you learning about yourself? What are you learning to be an excellent employee? How does it affect your attitude to work? It isn't just working at a fast foods and making sure the hamburger is cooked or the French fries have been well done. But how do you use that as a learning experience to become an outstanding employee and an outstanding human being for the rest of your life?
Well, that's the key. Is you do learn about those things. You learn about the company's culture. You learn about what it takes as a person to be. What skills you need to possess to be able to be successful, and then have an upward growth trajectory based on the skill sets that you might get now or you have now. But if you got more through going through Mount Low's Mechatronics program or getting the next level of certification as a healthcare professional, those are things that if we are able to demonstrate through experiences, gives everybody a leg up, and certainly gives that. And a lot of times this young person may find, I don't want to do this. And so I don't want to be a nurse, or I don't want to be in manufacturing, but so that helps mark one off the list that they can try something else, and we'll hopefully guide them in another direction.
If they've been collecting bedpans at the hospital, they may have an alternative career. You mentioned earlier, in fact, even off the air, the impact of the healthcare industry in Rutherford County. Do you want to speak to that for a moment?
Well, as I say, especially even prior to me coming here, I think at times if you had some type of an ailment or an illness, you had to go somewhere else to get health care, whether it be Nashville or some other city. Now you can get that pretty much everything you can get here. And so you don't have to incur the cost of going to Nashville and doing those things. But we have, as I talk to all my friends who are in the healthcare industry, we still have a shortage of physicians, and we have a shortage of technicians and pharmacy techs and surgical techs. And so the demand is here, and I think that's going to continue to grow as our population grows. And then we get a lot of folks that come here from the southern part. We call it the donut counties outside of Rutherford County, who come here for health care as well, and they don't have to go to Nashville anymore.
Well, you try to navigate the main campus of Vanderbilt downtown, and you want to avoid that if possible. Not Vanderbilt itself, but the complex that you have to deal with. Tell me about a giant service station that's coming to Murfreesboro.
I was waiting on that.
Yes.
Yeah, my understanding is it's Buc-ee's, which is looking at going in at the intersection of Joe B. Jackson and I-24 on the west side of there. They've gone through the planning process, so I'm not talking about anything that I'm not supposed to be sharing.
It's a secret or anything, no.
Yeah, so my understanding is they're progressing towards construction here in the next 18 months, and I've never been in one.
Oh,
but I
next
hear
time you go to Cookville,
yeah.
Cookville or
Crossville.
Crossville. It's the most amazing thing you ever want to see.
Hear, yeah.
Start out in Texas by a couple of fellows creating it.
Yeah.
And it looks like a truck stop, but it isn't a truck stop.
Right.
And you go in you got, I don't know how many pumps there are. It's huge. And the food court and the entire facilities is unbelievable. I'll be curious whether the price of gas will be similar, whether there be a bargain. Energy, believe it or not, is always quite a bit lower in Rutherford County than where I come from, Williamson County.
Right.
I only fill up when I'm in Smyrna rather than wait at home at Brentwood. We've been very, very pleased. Well, let's, just before we close, one last word about the magic wand of the future of Rutherford County as you see it, Paul.
I think, it's kind of hard to say what I would like, but, I think we have continued growth. We have continued opportunities. I think we need to continue to grow in such a way where we can all still enjoy what we have and yet bear the fruits from a really good opportunity, a really good economy, and as we move forward, I think we will. I really am. I'm very encouraged, and still I am, for the next 5 to 10 years, unless something crazy happens. But we're in a great spot, and and I am. This is a great role for me as part of the Chamber of Commerce, and it's not a hard sell, and so we could be in a lot worse shape.
Growth with the balance with education, growth with the balance of traffic, growth with the balance of parks and recreation, growth with the balance of the ability to serve through public service and emergency services and so forth. It's a delicate balancing act, but it can and will be done.
Absolutely.
Thank you so very, very much. It's been a wonderful pleasure having this chat this morning on the Roundtable with Mr. Paul Alatour, President of the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce, a man with vision, and yet a man with his concentration and priority and passion for the well-being of all citizens today and tomorrow of this beautiful Rutherford County. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the spring as we currently enjoy it, and we'll see you next Thursday. Goodbye.
Del Walmsley and the Wealth Cycle.
This is the Wealth Cycle that I've taught for 30 years. Buy one house, 10 houses, an apartment, 2 apartments.